Welcome. I'm the teacher. Today I'm going to speak on the number 6, which stands for complete yet incomplete. The number 6 is supported the 3, 6, and 9 keys. I'm going to talk about the 6th period at the creation of man. And you see I also broke down the formula of 6 when you add 6 and then multiply it, like 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, etc., all the way up to 54, the 9 steps. When you break it down to the Caesar digit, you will always get the number 9. Once again, whenever you do 3, 6, and 9, when you add and multiply them, they always break down to 9 because it is a completed state. It is one of the keys. So, number 19, 9 times 6 is 144. We're going to talk about that. It's the 19 is the number of the Son of Man, and the 6 periods. The Quran is 114 chapters, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, etc. 60 times 6 equals 360, meaning that you complete yet you're incomplete. But I'm gonna break that down. 6 is just a very significant number. 24 billion miles per second is the average man's thought, which again, you break that 24 down, you get 6. And then you see the codes of life here. And then, there are 5 30s on each side, making it pretty much 10. And when you tag and you look at this 10, and 10, within all the codes equals up to 30. And 30 times 6 is 180, which is 180 degrees. Male, 180 degrees for the female. As you join together, that makes 360. So I'm going to talk about them. Pretty much that today as far as the number 6 and why we call it complete yet incomplete. It's very significant for that part. Let me focus just a little bit better here. There you go. So on the number 6, we are basically saying that you are complete yet incomplete. The reason why it is said that, I'll mention it that way, because like if you're coming into womanhood, when you come into manhood, that's when we say we have to find our so-called purpose. We are fully developed. We could procreate, meaning we can bring life into the world that we will be responsible for to teach, etc., etc. Coming into full understanding, you only have 3 more steps, 7, 8, 9. So it is a very crucial stage of the development for us. Now keep in mind, each of the numbers, okay, it's about 0, 1, and 2 mainly. Because then 3 comes in and that's a cycle. So you think about 0, 1, and 2 is like sort of the first cycle in a sense, because those are 3 numbers that is kind of like in the concept of the original thought. So, for instance, everything comes out of a womb, and everything that comes out of a womb is new. So it's true change because nothing is coming out repeated. The Old Testament mentions that there is nothing new under the sun, right? Meaning everything that man is learning from is already been created and thought of. Man takes minerals and makes things up, but the minerals are already there. It's only when the coming of the Son of Man that is all things are new, where he makes all things new, even speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, etc., etc. So It changed in a twinkling of an eye. I come quickly. That is all about thought. So, the pronounced one pronouncing itself into existence. The very next number is 2, which is us. Giving us man and God has all man and the one. We have always been part of the one because we are family. We are the offspring of the one. Just like in the book of Revelations where it is written, it says that I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and the morning star. Meaning I'm from the original thought, but I'm also the offspring because it's us. Let us make man. 2 represents us. So I'm going to break that down when we get down to the code to let you see when you look at the codes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is one code when you break it down as a code, when you put it in 3 layers. 483, 726, 159, that's another code. 753, 186, 429, that's another code. And within them codes, you see the 6s. You go to the left, to the right, it's 6. You get to the diagonal parts, it's 6, meaning 1, 5, and 9 is 6. And 7, 5, and 3, when you add that together, it's 6. So the 6 is a very key number. And when I was breaking down our senses, it's like we have 5 cents, and then I brought up the 6 cent. The 6 cents is when you come into full awareness of that what you are. So once again, you are complete, yet you're incomplete. Now that you're aware, now that you are grown, now that you have understanding, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be able to make it to the 9, etc., etc., etc.? So you can't come into the knowledge of the Son of Man and be at heaven at once without going through these stages. And that's why I am pointing out, I'm making a little video on the numbers. So as you study the lessons out there from lesson 1 and so forth, you'll be able to follow. But you have to work the math in order to understand that. Come up with your mathematical theology to make things work for you. That's how it works. You have to know how the math works. You have to know about the 3 patterns of life, which is on the board right there. And I show you that in that. And you have to know how to work that into your daily life. That's what this awareness is all about. So 6 periods. So the 6 periods of creation. He said created you in 6 days. I like the way the Quran puts it, because I like it in the sense of 6 periods. So when you look at the number 19 and you times it by 6, you get 114. The Holy Quran has 114 surahs. But the first revelation is the 96th surah, the clock. And I broke that down, how the circumference of each code is 96. Once again, 9 plus 6 is 15. 1 and 5 is 6. And you see, if you see your creation is in 6 periods, you see that it's the fulfillment of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran is a book that is full of wisdom. Read it. Read it. It explains plenty in there how man comes into his fullness. No book of God in Revelation is greater than any other book. It's how you can use the math to bring the truth into existence, into reality, make it manifestation. There are 66 books in the Bible. There's the 6 all over again. If you put the both books together, 66 and 114, what did you get? You're getting 180 degrees, which goes back to the code. Look at the code. 30 times 6 is 180. You can't have one without the other. Full understanding. So don't look down on anybody's faith or anybody's religion. At least I choose not to, because it's one language that we all should be able to use, that we all should be able to speak, and we all should work to be able to build our future on, because that's all there is. That is the true language. It's mathematics. It's the only language that gives you freedom, justice, and equality. So once again, if you take the 66 books of the Bible, the 114 chapters of the Holy Quran, that's 180 degrees of understanding. A man and a woman, both, can get up to 180 degrees of understanding. Together, we 360. You cannot fulfill life without the other. So I'm emphasizing that clearly, because our biggest change in life comes when a man and a woman comes together. We have to have this kind of dialogue for one simple reason: because the Savior is born. The Son of Man is the key, because the Son of Man has the keys, the 3, 6, and 9, that can unlock heaven and give you, unlock hell rather, and give you the keys to heaven. That's the state of mind. Your consciousness can go where you're going to go, wherever your consciousness are. Your soul will follow where your conscience are. That's where your soul goes, wherever your conscience is. If you have understanding, and if you have a pure heart, and you are respecting the principles of life, hey, you are on your way to heaven at once. Okay. 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour. So, 60, once again, 60 times 6 is 360, which is, once again, all these periods, all these, the sixes, is taking you up to the cycles of life, the 3, 6, and 9, and break it down, the understanding that man and woman and child, all of us, a family, is what it's all about. A man or a woman does not come into the world until they have a child. I'm going to say that again. Your true birth date is when you bring a child into the world. The body that we grow up in, where our experiences, our tastes, what we taste, what we touch, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, our senses, creates our personality, creates our frequency, our harmony in a body that is prepared for us by our parents. We grow in this body But we don't come into the world until we have a child. See, it doesn't say that the Son of God is going to come and lead you to all truth. It's the success of your journey to God, man and woman. And when you have that child, the Son of Man, then you have made all things new, because man has not had a true child. That's why modern science has a theory on how a healthy human being should be, but it's never seen one. You never seen a human being raised in the mathematical theology. You don't know what it's like to live a life based on mathematics, based on freedom and justice and equality. You don't know what that looks like. There's no man and no woman who has come together in that union to make that happen. So your actual birth date, where you want to see yourself, you see that through your children. Because that's you. That's your body. Some Christians, that's why Jesus said you got to be reborn again. Because it starts with the thoughts. I'm not talking about knowledge of things that are already defined. Because once you have knowledge of it, and then if you try to define it, put your language on it, then yeah, you are creating something that is manifestation. But you've already thought of it. So even though you have made it and you sharing it with everybody, or you giving it to us to enjoy, to see, etc., it's still past tense. What's the next thought? You understand? The next thought. Because it's the thought or the possibility. And then when you put that into motion and you come up with that, it's in your mind. What makes it powerful is when you love it. When your mind and heart are together as one, that's when the thought becomes true. And if it's good for life, not that you're just doing it for your individual self, that is true, meaning this is something that mankind can use forever. And what I mean by that is that if you're going to make something forever, you have to use the 3, the 6, and the 9. There has to be a repeative pattern. Because just like if you working on an assembly line and they have a process, it starts here, but the result is at the end. But everything has to work in place of that. Anything out of the assembly line breaks, gets off sync, you're going to have a problem. Are you listening? So the mathematical theology is the method that you come up with, like making a car or, building a home, etc., building a plane, etc. It's a method to it. So it's a method to understanding. The average man thought 24 billion miles per second. Once again, that's 6. When you look at the 24, you break 24 down, that's the number 6. The number 6. It's a beautiful number. Now I'm going to show you each of the numbers is all about us getting to the completed state. In other words, it's all about 2 getting to 9. That's why in all the patterns, 3, 6, and 9 maintain their position. They do not change. Now, 1, 4, and 7 position changes. But they only got 3 changes within them. But let's follow the 2. Show you what I'm talking about. In the first pattern, 2 is next to 3. In the second pattern, 2 is next to 6. In the third pattern, 2 is next to 9. That's the completed state. If you would have did lesson number 1, you would have known 1 and 8 has the same pattern. 5 and 4 has the same pattern. 2 and 7 have the same pattern. You break them down. If you add and multiply 7 throughout, you're going to get 7, 5, 3, 1, 8, 6, 4, 2, 9. If you add and multiply 4 and 5, you're going to get 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. If you add and multiply 1 and 8, if you do 8 times 8 is 64. You break that down, it's going to be the number 1. If you just continue with that, you're going to see when you break it down to that one number, 8 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's why there are only 3 patterns, once again, because we were dealing with the cycles of life. There's only 3 codes, once again, because we're dealing with the cycles of life. And number 6 is the second stage in the cycles of life. You're halfway there. So it's very significant, and the numbers, when you're able to see the numbers and see the code, you'll see exactly what I mean by when I call the number 2 us, because this is all about us. And some of you are not in the full understanding of the lessons, the 120, which I talked about in the number 3 when I was talking about the 120. I also broke that down on the number 5 as well when I was talking about justice. So our original language is mathematics. And throughout the original history of the original man, all the original man was interested in was life and the development of life. The original man wasn't interested in money. Money had no value. You understand? But one of the greatest, I don't want to use the word experiments, but one of the greatest journeys that has taken place, that has ever taken place in this universe, is a people who was dead coming back to life as their original selves, where they unite their ancestry understanding and they get their language back, and their culture is the culture of life. There's nobody throughout history, so-called history, has been more dead than the so-called African American. You want to talk about a race of people who are dead. No name. They can't even define themselves, even if it wants to be static for a period, because they don't even know their names. We have a slave culture. We don't have a culture of our own. You understand? We are proud of the names that we have because our parents and grandparents wore them well. But those are not our original names. We the only people walking around with another man's name. And we seem to be okay with that. What's our language is mathematics, and we don't even know how to put that in our lives. But this exterior world, this cruel world, has come within our culture, our style, our historical life, take us all out of us, and then they make languages that are static, like English and Japanese and Chinese and all this noise. Languages, it's just a bunch of noise. The only language that your body really takes in, even when they are deciphering that madness that we are speaking, the death language is what I call it. Your ears are still mathematically breaking it down to make sense of it. We don't need colleges to know how to communicate. I mentioned that in talking about justice. If we just allow our children to grow with a sense of understanding, then what I'm saying right now about the mathematics, and they never been to school where they got to look at something that is dead and static and you learn about it, you know, something that is already written and you read and then it's explained to you. I'm giving you right now the opportunity to learn how to think. Think how to free your mind mathematically. Because you're not going to come up with a true mathematical thought trying to interpret scripture in a language that is static and dead. Now you just think about that. You're using a language, I'm talking to you in a language right now that is static and dead. And you tell me how English or any other language that you know of is going to get you through the 3, 6, or 9 that's going to give you the keys, and you're going to be able to break these codes down. And mathematics is the only language that you can prove at no limit of time because it's math. It doesn't need interpretation. It is. The best teaching that you can ever have is the understanding of life. And if you love life, you'll want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself. The knowledge of self allows you to deny that self and to come into the understanding of us. That you need the knowledge of what was put in us, which is the one that makes all things new and come into true existence. True existence never dies. True existence doesn't go away. True existence is always present. There is no death in mathematics, people. If I ask you to start counting, when will you stop? The original thought. Learn how to think. We have to get into the understanding because the Savior is born and we are given the gift of life. by the 1. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. Thank you for listening.